Okay, so the question is, find an equation of the linear model. You see those directions. Find an equation of a linear model. 3 formulas should just jump in your head. What are the 3 formulas that jump into your head that deal with linear models?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. That's number 2. Slope is number 1. That's the first one that you should think of. And what's the third one? Point slope. So when you see the words, find an equation of a line or find an equation of a linear model, you should know that those are the formulas you're going to be using. You might not use all 3 of them, but you're definitely going to use some of them. All right. Now the hard part of any word problem is reading through all the words and figuring out what they've told us, correct? It looks like we have 2 variables in this problem. I see n right here, so there's one variable, and I see t. So we've got 2 letters, n and t. Which letter is pretending to be x and which letter is pretending to be y?
T is x.
T is x. Why is t x?
Because it's time.
Because it's time, and time is always x. Okay, so we're going to have t comma n. All right, now let's go back and see what it says here. The number of suicides has increased approximately linearly from 67 suicides in 2004. So that looks like it's giving me an n number. N would be 67, and a t number. T is 2004.
Well, a year since 2000, so would it be 4?
Excellent. Be very careful on these. Since 2000. So that means t would actually be the number 4. So there's 1 point it gave us. T is 4, n is 67. Be very careful. It's very tempting to write 2004 comma 67, but you're almost never going to use 2004. It's almost always going to be years since someplace. So you'll almost always have a 4 comma 67 or something along those model lines. All right, and then there's another one, I think. It says 115 suicides in 2007. 115. All right, so basically what they've done, instead of just telling us, find the equation of the line through 467 and 115, they put it in the form of a word problem. But that's basically what they've done. They've given us 2 points. Once we figure out what the 2 points are, we do what we did on Wednesday and we find the equation of the line. So what do I need to do in order to find the equation of the line?
The slope. Find
the slope. That's the first thing we always need to know. So I use that slope formula. N is 115 minus 67 divided by 7 minus 4. I might grab my... How much?
48 over 3.
48 over 3, thank you. Now, I want you to leave that as a fraction. Why do I want it left as a fraction?
You can break it down again.
Oh, I can?
16 over 1.
Oh, that's even better then. It does reduce down to be 16. If it did not reduce to be 16, I still want it as a fraction. Why would I want it as a fraction and not a decimal? For 2 reasons. One, it's a slope. So this tells me up and over. So having slope as a fraction is much better than a decimal in general. The other reason is I don't want you to round off. I don't want you to write 22.3 when it's really 22.33333 or whatever it is going on forever. We don't want to round off. We want to stay as exact as we can. Turns out we're great in this one. Reduces to be 16. Now that I know my slope, what do I do?
Y equals mx plus... I don't know, you do the m, y, q...
You were right both times. I can use either one. Mike.
Yeah.
I was just my sense of, but I'm not getting where the 7 minus 4 came from.
x2
okay.
minus x1. Subtract my x numbers.
Gotcha. So y equals mx plus b.
I would probably use y equals mx plus b because this turned out to be a nice number. It's not a fraction. If this turned out to be a fraction, I would probably use the other one. That's the way I do it. Again, the way you do it is whatever makes sense for you. I'm going to go ahead and use y equals mx plus b. That's a b. Looks like a 6. Which numbers do I plug in for x and y? Either set. Which one do you want to use?
4.
The 4. Okay, so I plug 67 in for my y. I plug 16 in for my m. I plug 4 in for my x plus b. 67 equals 64 plus b. So I subtract 64 on both sides. B is 3. My final answer would be y equals 16x plus 3. Questions on that?
If you plugged in the other point, would you get the same number?
If you plugged in the other point, would you get the same number? That's an excellent question. Let's find out. We better, but let's find out to make sure. If I plugged in 7 and 115, I would have 115 equals 16 times 7 plus b. So 115 is 7 times 16. Well, let's see. 7 times 10 is 70 plus 42 is 112 plus b. And I subtract. I do get exactly b equals 3 again. So it really doesn't matter which point you use. You will get the same answer. Questions on that? All right, let's try number 2. The number of high school students who have taken the military's aptitude test has decreased approximately linearly from 857.6 thousand students in 1999 to about 539.3 thousand students in 2007. Let n be the number of high school students who have taken the test, that is t years since 1990. And then part A, find a linear model. Okay, again, same process. I see the words find a linear model. That tells me what? I'm going to make an equation. And what formulas am I going to use? The same formulas I used last time, the mx plus b, the slope formula, or maybe the point slope formula. Once again, I see that I have 2 letters. Happens to be the same 2 letters last time, t and n. So which one is x? T. So t comma n. All right, and then we look through our points. We have 857.6 in 1999. 857.6, is that a t number or is that an n number?
A number?
That's an n because it's definitely not a time, is it? So we're going to have something, comma, 857.6. And then I'm not going to use 1999.
9.
I'm going to start at 1990. That's going to be 9 years later. That's going to be a 9. So there's my first point. And then I see 539.3. So again, that's a n. That's a y value, 393.3. In 2007, that would be 17 years later. Again, that's the hardest part, I think. The hardest part is reading through the data and recognizing which one is x, which one is y, and then getting your 2 points. Once you have that, the rest of it should be pretty straightforward. Should be pretty much exactly what we did the other day. I find slope. That's 539.3 minus 857.6 divided by 17 minus 9. I grab my calculator. 539.3 minus 857.6. I got negative 318.3 over 8. Now, this time, I would go ahead and use my calculator and give a decimal. Because, in general, we don't like it when we have decimals and fractions mixed within the same problem. So this one, I think it would make sense to divide by 8. And I'm going to write it as negative 39.3 What do you think? Should I round off or should I just leave it all?
All of it.
All of it, all right. 78, 75. When you're doing your homework on MyLab, again, read the directions carefully. Quite often they will say round off to 2 decimal places or round off to 1 decimal place. So read the directions, make sure you ask for what they ask for. Otherwise, you're going to do all the work right, and you're going to give too many decimal places, and it's going to mark it wrong, and that's going to make you angry. Read the directions. Now what?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b, okay. My other option, of course, would have been y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Which x and y number do you want me to use?
17.
The 17? Okay. So that means I'm going to plug 539.3 in for y. I'm going to have negative 39.7875 for m times 17 plus b. All right, I grab my calculator. That means I have 539.3 equals negative 676.3875 plus b. And then finally, to get add that big number to the other side, yeah. I get b is minus 1215.6875.
Won't it be positive?
Positive, yes, thank you. Because I have to add the 676 to the other side. Positive, yes. I don't know why I wrote negative. Okay, so, I made the same mistake twice. I did the same mistake on problem 1 that I did on problem 2. What mistake did I make on problem 1? Nope. Use the wrong letters. I'm not supposed to use X and Y. I'm supposed to use T and N. And again, MyLab will mark it wrong if you use the wrong letters.
Wait a minute, what did you get for? Go on, I'm sorry.
Okay, for problem 1, my final answer should have been N equals 16T plus 3. Again, if you're doing your work on MyLab and if it says in the directions the letters are N and T and you use X and Y, again, it will mark it wrong. And I was about to do the same thing here. Well, I did actually. I wrote y equals mx plus b. Again, I shouldn't be using y and x. Michael?
So that's what it was, 1215.6875?
Yep.
When you added
That's my b number, yep. So my final answer for part A should be N equals negative 39.7875 T plus 1215.6875. Questions on that? Yeah, and I think it would have been a good idea there to round off that decimal. 4 places is probably too many. A couple probably would have been plenty. But you told me to keep them all, so I did. All right, well, this one has some more questions. What is the slope?
39.
M equals negative 39.7875.
Is it okay if we leave it at negative 318.3 over 8?
It's fine if you leave it as negative 318.3 over 8. Again, MyLab would probably mark that wrong, but it would be okay. What does it mean in this situation?
The amount of people taking that military test is decreasing 39.7875 thousand per year.
All right, so one correct answer would be the number of people taking the test decreases. Why decreases?
Negative.
because it's negative, by 39.7875 thousand per year. What would be another correct answer? What if you left it as a fraction like this? What might you say? The number of people decreases by 318.3 thousand every 8 years. So if you left it as a fraction, you could write your answer that way, and that would be fine too. What is the n-intercept?
1,215.0.
Yeah, I would prefer that you write it as a point. Correct, but you were giving me the right number. That was the important thing. 0, 1215.6875. What does that mean in this situation?
In 1990, 1,215,675 thousand people took the extra test.
I don't know where you got the 1 million out of that, but
Well, because it's 100,000 or 857,000.
okay. So you got to do one or the other. If you're going to move this decimal 3 places and tell me it's 1.2 million, then you won't have the word thousand on the end.
Oh, yes, I spoke you.
Right. Okay. So I would just say in 1990, 15.6875 thousand people took the test. And if you wanted to, you could move that decimal 3 places and just give me that number, give me the actual number in standard number form. Yes?
You said that your answer was wrong because you didn't put the n in t. If you put on the side a key saying y is n, x is t, would that count then?
I would be fine with that on the test. Absolutely.
Okay.
When you're doing your homework,
I do that, 'cause-
when you're doing your homework, the computer's going to mark it wrong. It's not as friendly as I am. Other questions?